Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. We are going to go ahead and get started right away. We've got a hard stop right around 6:30. So thank you all for being here. My name, for those of you that don't know, is Carrie Naoni, and I'm the executive director here at TIE Oregon. Again, we're thrilled to have you here. We love having these Confessions of an Entrepreneur sessions. They're always so insightful, and very happy to have Ganesh with us tonight. Please take a look at the companies that we have on our screen. These are the companies that support TIE with their sponsorship. So if you are in need of service providers, please reach out to the folks that you see on the screen. And I'm always available to make connections for you as well. Just quickly, I want to just run through a couple of events that we have coming up. Most importantly, the application deadline for Pitch Oregon, which is our large scale pitch competition, is due to at the end of the week, actually. So please get your applications in if you are wanting to pitch for equitable investment at Pitch Oregon, which is taking place on February 9th. We have just a few events remaining for the year. Tomorrow at 12 for lunch, we have Julie Harrelson coming in to talk to us about venture capital. So if you can make that, it will be virtual, and she's a really great resource. So it's Ask Julie Anything. We also have another Confessions of an Entrepreneur on December 1st with Ali Magar, who is the founder of Hub. That's going to be another fascinating event. And then we have a charter member dinner on our holiday dinner on December 6th. So if you are a charter member, we'd love to have you attend that. And without further ado, that's all I really have, except again, to thank our sponsors and to turn it right over to Brigitte Pinueski, who is a board member, a charter member, and an angel investor who has spent time working with Ganesh. So I'm going to turn it right over to Brigitte and we'll get started.
Great. Thanks so much, Carrie. And likewise, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you could be here. The RFPIO story is a great one. I'm so excited to bring it to you today with Ganesh. So Ganesh, let's start with walking back. Take us to the young Ganesh. Tell us a little bit about him and how it was possible for the young Ganesh to move into the field of entrepreneurship as opposed to all the other opportunities available to you.
Yeah. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, hey everyone, thanks Carrie, Brigitte, and Ty for inviting me. It's been it's an honor to be here and share my experience. Can take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a serial entrepreneur, so I don't have a cookie cutter story. This is what we've done. This is going to work. So take it, always take it with a grain of salt. Whatever I'm going to share is purely based on my experience. And I'm not a seasoned entrepreneur, and this is my first rodeo. But taking a step back to my beginning. So I'm not an engineer. People generally associate myself as when they see me, oh, you're an engineer. I started my career as a sales rep back in India after finishing my MBA. I was in pure financial services sales. I used to sell insurance and mutual funds and stockbroking. So that is where I started my career. In 2009, crash came in. That's when I realized, it was very hard to see a lot of people lose their money, especially my clients lost their money. And that's when I felt this is not my cup of tea. So I decided to change my career. And I figured technology is what I wanted to associate myself, though I had no idea what technology is all about. So my major was marketing and finance, and I had no idea what technology is. And then I was lucky enough to join a startup where they were looking for a business analyst. And then because of my product or financial services domain experience, they brought me in as a business analyst, and I started my career there as a business analyst, and then moved on in that later, and I became a product manager. And eventually, when I quit my job as an employee, I was a director of product management. So my background was purely into product management. As part of that process is what I've responded to quite a few RFPs. That is how I came into this domain, Brigitte.
Great, thank you. And so with that experience, you realized, oh, this is a place that's very, very broken. It's so broken that it needs a solution, and it's going to need a solution for the foreseeable future. The need for RFPs is not going to go away. So can you speak a little bit about how the idea came to you and why you thought there was a business model here that would make sense?
Yeah. So again, like I said, I don't have a cool garage story like Apple or Google, or I don't have a dorm room story like Facebook or Snapchat, where typical startup garage story. I don't have any of those. It was purely me and my two other co-founders used to work for an enterprise software company. But part of the process is we were actually facing this problem day in and day out. We have used different workaround solutions. Like we have used Microsoft, I've used Google, I've used Atlassian, and I've used Salesforce to kind of solve the RFP problem. Because what happened is my primary job as a product manager or a head of product, my primary job was sprint planning. I have to plan for the next sprint, competitive analysis. Never in my 10 years of my career in the previous company even a mention of word RFP in my job description. Nor never once my boss came to me and said, "Hey, Ganesh, you did a fantastic RFP. Here is a pay raise." And I believe this is a true story, by the way. I've gotten 2 times $100 gift card from my salesperson saying, "Hey, because of you, I won the deal. I got my commission." So that is all I've gotten. I've gotten 2 times $100 gift card. That's in my 10 years of thing. But never once I was able to say no when my sales folks were asking me to respond to an RFP. It means I have to spend my primary job time, and then on top of it, I have to help my sales team to win deals. So it was taking, I calculated approximately about 30% of my time went into helping my sales team, to win deals. That also means I was spending a lot of time on weekends to finish my RFP work, because always RFPs will have a deadline. So I have to help that deadline to be done. On top of it, I have to do my day job or my primary job. So it became a huge load on my shoulder. Similarly, my two other co-founders, Shankar and Sundar, I was the product manager. So quote unquote, subject matter expert for product. Sundar, who is my current CTO, was the quote unquote subject matter expert for technology. And Shankar, who's my current COO, was a quote unquote subject matter expert for implementation. So all of us shared the common pain, but not owning that thing. None of us had to deal with it. So we actually went to the market to look for a solution to solve the problem for us, not in an idea to create a startup or something. So that's when we realized there is not a lot of solutions out there in the market. So it got us interesting, and we dug deeper, and we found that a lot of opportunity. So the rest is history. Today, 6.5 years into the business, so I would say every workaround solution, be it Microsoft, Google, Atlassian, Salesforce, is a customer of RFP.io. Every solution that I've used as a workaround solution is a customer of us, and they use RFP.io to solve that very own problem that we use them. And the journey is amazing. In 2016, and I remember when I was just talking to Brigitte before, when she invested, or 2017, or even before, when we started in 2016 January, it was me sitting in an 83 square foot office with no window, to be honest. It was like that. And even my two other co-founders did not join full time because we were very scrappy on how we want to spend our money. So 6.5 years down the line, so we have 3 different office locations. We are about 450 full-time employees around the world. We have offices in 3 different continents, in Asia, Europe, and as well as in North America. So, and we have almost 15 plus Fortune 100 companies, almost 2,000 customers worldwide. Again, these are not mom and pop shops. I'm talking about some of the world's largest companies that we can ask for. So it's been a very wonderful journey thus far.
So it sounds like you got product market fit perfect out of the gate, which is so unusual for many startups. Can you speak to that and the fact that how was this business set up and run so that you really didn't need to raise a lot of money? And in fact, the stuff you raised, you wound up not even using in some cases. So.
Yeah, in a way, to be honest, when I quit my job and I handed off my laptop to the employer, what I told them is, hey, you can recycle this laptop, you can delete anything in this laptop, but don't delete this one folder, because that is the folder that I had secured all the RFPs that I've contributed. There are about 465 RFPs to be exact.
Wow.
Please keep that in mind. So, which means I have almost 10 years of experience responding to RFPs. It's been on my shoulder, but I quit in 2015 December during Christmas time. We did not launch the product until June of 2016. Though we thought one of the, if I hindsight, one of the things that looking back, we did this, especially for the product market fit you called, Brigitte, is we didn't assume that everything that we thought and we know is the problem that universe is facing. So I would, if I'm advising on a startup or other entrepreneurs today, I would say, don't assume the problem that you are facing is the same problem that your customer is facing. Again, we should not assume that, and your team or you are not the right sample set for that. In fact, you should not even consider that. So when we launched in 2016 January, we did a silent launch and approached some of our customers or prospective customers to validate the idea. And it took us 6 months, despite having this if you look at between the three of us, we have more than 50, 60 years of man experience, or 50 years of man experience, responding to RFPs between Shankar, Sundar, and I, almost 50 years but we did not assume that that's all we needed. But yes, we assumed that to build the basic version of product, but we did not launch the product until we really felt confident and how we overcome the competition, right? That's what it is. And if I have to characterize that moment, there are two ways you can, especially from a product market fit. I see two different ways. Number one is depending on the product and depending on the market that you're planning to operate, right? Especially in my experience, RFP is been in ages. It's not something new. It's not disruptive. It is not something, people are going to get wowed about. It is a problem that people have been known, 30, 40 years before federal government and state government have issued RFPs. This has been for ages. So in that kind of a situation, what I realize is, because people already know there's the problem, customers, and they already have seen other solutions, some of the solutions, there's a benchmark already in their mind. They are going to compare your product against the benchmark that they already have. So if you are launching a product in that kind of a segment, you got to be planning your product above the benchmark or equal to the benchmark, which means you got to be doing something really, really well. That's what we did. The other kind of product where there is no benchmark, it's completely disruptive. You come up with a brand new idea, customers don't have anything. So the luxury is you can launch fast and quickly iterate. That is a separate strategy you can follow. Whereas in a segment like this, you can't launch fast and then you will fail fast too. The customers have a reference point. They will compare, oh, I saw that. So what we did, we decided, okay, this is not a disruptive space, but what can we do better than anyone else is doing? So we picked one use case that is basically solving Excel document. How Excel document can be processed in our application was very simple use case, but we made sure no one else was doing better than us. We patented it. We said we are the best. And when customers saw that, or prospects saw that, they acknowledge you guys are the best. So we took that approach and it worked out. Today, we support many different use cases, but the day one, we picked one use case and we went deeper into that. And we became the leader in that thing.
Excellent. And so that was for your customer. How did you differentiate yourself for your investors? What was the story that sold your investors that said, oh yeah, this is the right team at the right time with the right solution?
So, like you said, along the journey in 2016, if I have to look into my my financial status, again, not to create any empathy or sympathy here, just want to clear the entrepreneur mindset that we had. So I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was living in an apartment. My wife was not working. That's when my second kid was born. Literally, she was a year old. So it was all lot of uncertainty was going in in our mind. But I took the plunge because one of our investors who basically did not give me a clue, just it's a mindset. I think even you guys did that with Thai and Elevate did that. It's a mindset. It's a little different way we raise funds. Basically, if I had to go back in time, there's one person who said he will invest in the business, but he did not give us clue on how much he will invest. So the first check, $10,000 is what he invested. He said, I know you guys are struggling. I know you guys are, and especially he said, I know my financial status. He knows about my financial status, and he gave me the first $10,000 to say, okay, here is what I can give you. You go create your company. Don't do it through something. Do it properly. Do it Delaware. Do it with the proper, all those things. We did that. And then he said, this is even before me quitting my job. And then he said, when you quit your job, I'll give you another $25,000. So 10 became 35, 35 became 100, because each one became based on a milestone. You bring in customer, and eventually he ended up investing $500,000, right?
Wow.
But to be honest, and then along the way, we started with, we brought in Elevate and Thai investor. Same thing. Elevate also did not give us. Elevate invested $500,000, but Elevate started with $250 million. They invested the second half based on a milestone. They said, if you guys hit this milestone, we will invest the remaining portion. And we hit pretty much every milestone that we initially put together in terms of customer acquisition and team building. We hit those milestones. And in 2018, this is, to be honest, we never needed the money. I truly call ourselves as a customer funded business. Again, that is where I was able to, Brigada, we didn't, to be exactly clear, we did not use a penny that we raised from Thai or Elevate. We did not use a penny. It was all that individual who gave us that 10 became 35, 35 became 100. That's all we needed. And we started bringing on customers, and around, as a business, probably at that time, we might have burnt around $300,000 to bring in probably, another $300,000 of revenue at that time. It was a break even from the get-go onward. So and you may ask, why did you raise funds? Again, it's all because of, a lot of buzz was happening around fundraising. And then it is an insurance for us. Yeah. Today, yes, in hindsight, I'm saying I did not use the money, but the steps that I took, the risks that I took, bringing on more people, it's just because I had the money in the bank. Otherwise, I don't know whether I would have been able to take this, risks. Of course, again, God's grace or, touch wood, the risks that I took worked in my favor. I did not need the money, but what if the risk that I took did not pan out? Probably I should have tapped the money in the bank. So in 2018, we brought in K1. Again, that is also mainly for customers. I think it was Microsoft or Visa who was literally asking, hey, you guys seems to be a business started in 2016, but talking to a company like Microsoft, are you guys a real serious business? What does your business continuity plan look like? What is your financial audited statement? What financial audited statement you're talking about? We are talking about money, what comes into my bank account, what goes out of my bank account. It's all I dealt with. Yeah. And they were talking about GAAP accounting. That is when it dawned on us and saying, maybe we needed a bigger banner behind us to showcase that this is a serious business. We have a long runway. We are not going to go out of the business. So we brought in K1, and the deal that we did with K1 is to help our early investors to cash out. Again, I believe it was probably, Brigada, you may know it's a 13-month return after you invested in our business. So we helped the investors to cash out in about 13 to 15 months. And we brought in K1. Basically, what we did at that time is we swapped small investors to a larger investor without diluting the company much. Right? That's the strategy. And then until date, K1 is the only investor and minority holder in our business. We are not in the market we were not in the market to raise capital. So in last year and a half, we have done 2 acquisitions without raising a lot of capital from outside. It's been a very self-sustainable business so far, and it's all just because of the product market fit and because of the problem that we solve, and truly customer funded the business.
So when did you become revenue positive then? Was that well before K1 or?
Yeah, well before K1, yeah.
Okay. And how did K1 come on the scene? Did you seek them out? Did they find you? What happened?
It's a good question. There are different intersecting point happened with K1. Like I said, 2016 June is when we onboard our first paying customer. The first paying customer was is Smarsh, and they still are customer after 6 years. They still are customer. Smarsh is a first paying customer, and if Steve Marsh, who's the founder and Elevate LP, became an investor because of the problem that we solve. And K1's portfolio company is also Smarsh is also K1's portfolio company. And then we it's true story. We had Zaprud then. So what happened is Steve Marsh introduced me to the CEO of K1, Neil Malik, and he said, "Hey, just take a general casual breakfast meeting because Neil is in town for a board meeting." So I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a breakfast meeting." I met with him, and he invited me to the LA office. Literally, they put me in a boardroom. They did not leave me. Again, I'm not trying to brag. This is true fact. Even Hassan, who's my board member from K1, can still talk. So they literally did not leave me outside. They said, "Hey, you have to sign the term sheet." Because on that day, when I was signing the term sheet, I showed them that last deal that as of that day I signed is a company called Actians, which is now part of Smart. So basically the first customer and the last customer as of that day was a portfolio company, K1's portfolio company. So it became so compelling, and they said, "Hey, we want to be part of this." So it's an interesting way they got that deal done. But again, we know we want, and the proposition they offered us was amazing. It was a great returns for our early investors. So a lot of such conversation happened in just about a couple of hours meeting. And then, I wasn't prepared. To be honest, you talked about the pitch. I don't know, even you invested in Asperger. Do you remember seeing a pitch deck? I don't think so. We never had a pitch deck.
Well, I don't remember the deck. I just remember your story. It was very compelling, and it was incredibly easy for folks that, RFP is not my industry and it's not my domain expertise, but the description of the problem and the components of the solution were so well laid out that it made perfect sense that the world needed this, and the world needed it yesterday. So somebody better build this, and it sounds like you're the team that's going to get it done. So very obvious, place to put your money.
Yeah, one thing we did really well, I think it was intentional when we thought, okay, we are going to eventually, because all the buzz was happening, around fundraising. So one thing we did, maybe it's because of the product management experience, what we started building up from the day one, we collected every data could be possible. We still collect, and it doesn't mean everything goes into an insight. Eventually, the hope is it will eventually turn into an insight, but we collected every single data about usage, about customer onboarding. So I do still have, we created this dashboard. If you go, and I don't know if you remember the Brigada, that's what I used. Even with K1, with Elevate, all I've used is a dashboard, product dashboard, to show the usage, to show the customer adoption, to show how much time each customer is spending. All those data was available as a dashboard, easily consumable dashboard. People can relate. Okay, I even showed, even till today, we have that dashboard to show what is the everyday usage in the system. And I can go literally in last 1 minute, how many customers, and then how many, I can go to that level of how many users from each of those customers. I can say in last 1 minute, there were 20 customers, out of 20 customers, there are 200 users in the system. I can go to 5 hours, I can go back to 12 hours, I can go back to 24 hours. So that is the data that I showed. Even I can guarantee if I run that report right now, I can show more than in the last 24 hours, more than 60 or 70% of our customers have logged into the system today and used it as of today. I was just looking at for a different purpose, 60%. So that is very compelling story. I did not have, yes, then I talked about TAM, I did talk about SAM, but mainly I was focusing on, usage and customer acquisition. That's kind of what became a very compelling story.
So, and that traction dashboard tells you what people are doing. Does it then translate into a mechanism that helps you help your customers do their job better?
Yeah, it gives us a lot. Today that dashboard is being used by our customer success team. Not only that, right? It also gives the opposite, right? When I said over 60% of our customers have used it, what happened to the rest remainder 40%? Why did they not log in? It gives me insight. Why are they not logging in? What are they not seeing the value? When I say 40%, it is in a 24-hour window. Again, if you run the report, probably we're at 90% usage rate. So demand, it tells me that 10% of customers are not using the platform. Why? And what are the NPS? So it gives me so much insight. And it also gives us so much insight on where are they spending. So we have modularized, again, kind of evolved. Today, I can go into, okay, if a customer is spending 30 hours, I can tell in which module they've spent 15 hours in this module. Each user has spent 15 hours in this module. I can go to that level. So it gives us an insight. It becomes an easy conversation. Even we use it for what we call as a QBR deck. Today when we go to enterprise customers, we can say, hey, this is how many RFPs that you have responded in our platform. This is how many users are there. This is how much total time combined put together. All out of 100 users you have, 3,000 hours has been spent in last 30 days or last quarter. We can show them, and it becomes a very compelling story. It becomes, end of the day, especially in this given economic situation, B2B product got to be mission critical. Otherwise, securing budget for your solution becomes very challenging, right? So how do we make our platform? How do we make our application mission critical? Where if you pull the plug, the user should cry. When I say cry, users should feel bad. They should feel disrupted. They just to give you a simple exercise, right? And whenever you have time, do this in your own leisure time. Go into LinkedIn, search for the term RFPIO, the brand name, and don't pick the company. Go to the jobs section within LinkedIn and change the job posting to the worldwide. You will see at any given day, even till date, there is over 200 jobs out there in the market. That means RFPI as a company, we have only about 15-20 jobs in LinkedIn. But if you look in that remaining 185 jobs are by our customers. Basically, they're asking for RFPIO experience, like Java experience, Salesforce experience. So we are creating this ecosystem. That's why we launched RFPIO University to give certification, to give credit, so that our users, one, gets a higher chance when they attend an interview, they are certified by RFPIO, they get that. The second one is, it is also, these are the people who are going from one organization to another organization. Once we certify them, it becomes part of their day-to-day job. When they switch jobs, our hope is they will take us with them wherever they are. These are the people who've been with us. So that's another thing. So this is again became a part of this dashboard, helped us open up so many insights.
And then Blair's asking about any kind of redirection, any misgivings, any missteps that would have been better served, done a different way. So
it's a very loaded question. I would say, as a startup, every stage, there is something in hindsight we could have done better. I'll take this as the very beginning. I'll take this question from, because today we are at 450 employees. Last month I could have done something differently. I know, and when we were raising funds in 2018, I could have done something differently. When we started the company, I could have done so. So I'll take this from a very beginning. So I think my personal, if I need to do this again, if I have to go back, if I have any magic wand to rewind my time, I would, as a CEO, as a founder, even back then, I had three different big buckets of things that I have done. One is, I would say, business development or customer acquisition, and how do I make my product be available for my customers? That included some product. The second bucket was hiring, right? How do I surround myself with the right people, right talent? The third bucket is fundraising. Okay. So, and I was spending, those are three buckets. How did I prioritize it? I would say I was spending closer to 50% of my time in fundraising, 30% of my time in, hiring, 20% of my time in customer acquisition. That was how I spent. If I go back, I would flip that. I would spend most of my energy today, more than 50% of my time on customer acquisition, and 35 to 40% of my time in team building, and maybe 10%, because there were a lot of noise. I just want to, nothing bad. Of course, everybody, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. This is my experience. Lot of noise around us, especially not now, maybe starting 2015 to 2021, every day when you open up the news, oh, this company raised this much fund, this is right. It makes the entrepreneurs feel really bad if you're not fundraising. You feel like, okay, you're missing something, you're doing something wrong. But I honestly feel it should not be the hype and the amount of things that the attraction fundraising gets. It's not the right thing. I think people should celebrate bootstrap companies. People should celebrate sustainable companies, right? What I mean by that is, if you stay focused on customer acquisition, customers bring customers, customers brings employees, customers will bring investors. It's not chicken and egg story at all. For me, not putting the cart in front of horse. The horse is customer. If I have to do this again, I will beg, borrow, steal, do anything to make sure, how am I bringing the customer? If I'm not bringing the customer right way, or if my product is not being adopted, I started validating my thought process within a PowerPoint. Again, in HTML, it does not require a lot of investment. So then again, fundraising came in. So if I have to answer your question, Blair, if I have to go back, I would spend majority of my time in customer acquisition and team building, and then focus on fundraising.
And did you have any challenge with identifying the ideal customer persona? Did you have to fire any of your customers? Are there wrong customers and right customers out there?
Of course, yeah. When one of our I don't have that here. So one of our core values, now it is a little bit changed. It used to be called as GT-T-T. That is, everybody in RPA, even today, early employees know what GT-T-T means. GT-T-T means get the damn deal done. That's all we get. When we started this thing, we said, get the damn deal done. We focused on that. But, today I'm in Portland. The next 3 days, including today, is our leadership meeting. We are strategizing for 2023. Now, we are realizing where are we spending more time and energy. We are clearly lopsided as a business. We are, in terms of energy spent. We have customers all three segments: SMB, mid-market, and enterprise. If I look at the composition, or majority of the revenue is coming from enterprise customers. But unit-wise, we have a majority of unit on the SMB and the general business. Customer success, energy-wise, we are spending more time and energy on keeping the SMB customers and general business happy, or mid-market happy. Same effort is going into enterprise customer who's paying us more. So now we are thinking, okay, what is the strategy, real strategy? Again, the good news is, in our space, there is no 800-pound gorilla sitting on top of us. So it is wide space. So that means that we got to be, focusing on all three segments. I've made it very clear. We can't remove our gas off the pedal on one segment so that someone else comes and grabs that market and becomes a threat down the line. We got to be focusing on all three, but we got to be efficient. We got to do something creative to address that lower end of the market. So, it is an evolving process, Brigadier, to find the ICP. Each stage has, when we started, our ideal customer profile was an SMB business who are quick in making a decision, who can swipe the credit card, who has a problem, who can swipe the credit card for $5,000 a year. That was, today, it's a completely different story. But it evolves. But it depends on the product, depends on the segment that you play. Each company may have a different, definition of identifying the ICP. But it is important for you to each stage, even though it's evolving, but each stage you got to be clear on what is your ICP. It can evolve, but it can't be doubtable. It can't be questionable. That's a different story.
And you mentioned uncertainty throughout your journey. I'm wondering, can you share with us how you manage that, and how do you stay without the uncertainty impacting your productivity in any way? You raised funds even though you didn't use them, but that was to manage uncertainty and manage risk. How do you, as a CEO, with a family, children, everybody, plus all your employees, depending on you, now 400 plus employees, depending on you, how do you manage?
Without a doubt, it's surrounding yourself with the best in class, smart people than myself. That's the only way. I got to have the best team, who can do the heavy lifting on behalf of me, on my absence, or for me. So I think, the uncertainty is uncertain. To overcome that, that there are few things that we need to make sure that, we are addressing the right problem for the customer. Also, again, not every time you get to hit the, home run on the first ball, but it is important to have the right team, because in my experience, investors, especially early stage investors or early stage customers, do know, companies can fail, companies will struggle, but they are not investing on the early stage. They are investing on the team. Because they know the conviction is this team is pivotable. This team can pivot and go and pursue something. Again, this is not working. Do this. This is not working. Do this. This is not working. Again, at the right time, you need to know when to say no, when to stop, when to not get too much, emotional, not to get too much attached to. The pivoting is an important thing. So invest. I do invest now. So today I'm a small, because it's paid forward for me. When I invest, I see the team. Can they pivot? Yeah, the product can fail. The product may not have a product market fit, but I'm looking at it, and I think this is what early stage investors like yourself or early stage investors like Elevate looked at. Even the person who even before invested in us. Yes, that there's a product merit to it, but they invested in the team. And I feel, for the most part, people can navigate the uncertainty if you have the right folks, because uncertainty can be overcome. It's all about being at the right time, finding the right problem, but that cannot happen over time. If you don't have the right team, if you don't have the right set of folks, it will be a constant juggle of finding uncertainty, the handling. So I feel fortunate to have a fantastic team. Still do have that entire team, whatever I've considered core team, everybody still remains intact. So that team kind of helped us pivot, and as well as, going through this uncertainty time.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is that you have a team that's exquisitely positioned to be very learning oriented. Even though you use the phrase, you've got to know, you're actually not knowing oriented at all. You're much more learning oriented, so that you're paying attention to the customer and to the changes in the marketplace, and to your customer segments based on how they're behaving. So it's a continuous learning process for your team that has been the reason for your success And then the fact that you're not at all afraid to not know what tomorrow brings, because you've got the tools in place to have tomorrow declare itself to you. Tomorrow
Yep.
declares itself in terms of your dashboard and the new types of behaviors that your customers are exhibiting on your
Yep.
solution. So
Yeah,
can you
that's what I
speak?
call this. The continuous learning is what I call as pivoting, right? Unless you can't pivot if you don't have insight, if you are not open to learn. So that's what I call it. And yeah, you rightly said, continuous learning is the right word. Yeah.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night? Yeah. Do you?
People. Again, that's also people.
Yeah.
When I say people, we've been fortunate enough to build this company to this level with a certain culture. It was very, especially when we were small, with 50, 100 employees, we were a very tight-knit company, and now we are 450. Especially a lot of people today are working remotely. Even we hired most of these team. COVID when 2020, we were January or March, we were 170 people. We are 450, so which means almost 300 people got added in last 3 years during the pandemic, and especially with this hybrid model. So what keeps me up at night is how can we maintain the culture that we originally came together to make sure that we are providing the best-in-class service to our customer. We came to create a company that is meaningful for all three stakeholders. We have a very long journey and a big vision. How can we make sure that all of them are aligned in that same direction? Because human brain power is, we can't underestimate. If we all decide to pull in the same direction, it's amazing. I've seen that firsthand, even in the initial days, now. So that is what keeping me up at the night. How can I maintain the same mindset, same culture, what we came together? How can I maintain that? That's keeping me up at night. I have no answer for that.
Okay. And then do you want to walk us forward 2, 3, 4 years with RFPIO? What do you envision, or is that something you care to share?
Yeah, again, without boring you all about our product vision, end of the day, and like I said, we formed the company. One simple thing that we came to start. So we wanted a company where people really felt happy to be part of. When they wake up from the bed, they should feel, okay, I want to do something for this company. I don't know, we are there yet. It's a continuous learning, continuous journey for us. So we want to create an amazing company where people should feel proud of being part of, right? Because that is what 6.5 years before, I was in that shoes. I was expecting a company to be fair and equitable. All those things, what I was expecting, it is fair for my employees to expect out of me today. I got to be doing that. I can't change my mindset now that I'm on a driver's seat. I'm on an entrepreneur seat. I'm on an employer seat. The views cannot be changed, and we want to stick to the guns of going long, creating a meaningful company where people feel really proud. I don't feel proud of calling myself as the founder of the company. Rather, I would be really feel proud if I'm saying I was part of that company. So I'm not explaining it properly, but that is what we are looking for, to create a company that people feel really pretty proud of. How many people we see ex Microsoft or ex McKinsey, the word X in LinkedIn we see these days. It's amazing. It's proud moment, because people are, if you're not happy about your previous employer, why would you put in the title ex McKinsey or ex Microsoft, ex Salesforce? Why would you put that? So we want to create a company where people feel proud of, and if they're not part of RFPIO, they want to call ex RFPIO.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I know
but we want to be there.
So I know we have a hard stop at 6:30. So I just want to remind our audience that please go ahead and provide us with any questions you might have, because we'll need to shut down pretty quickly. While we're waiting for those interesting questions, I wanted to ask you, in this journey, what surprised you the most? Did anything stand out as something you didn't anticipate, that's something that surprised you that you wouldn't have imagined could be real or could be part of your journey?
There are two surreal moments, I would say. One, in both scenarios, I think I was naive, but it kind of surprised me. First time was one of those investors. He didn't invest in our business, but it was all those networking meetings that I spent. One of the investors said, you got to be there where your customers are looking for. The reason why I say I was naive is, in that meeting, I laughed inside and said, if I know that, I will be doing better. It didn't occur to me. Same night I was driving from Portland downtown to my home in Beaverton. It occurred to me, I was thinking, I was just joking. I was just making fun of that statement. Why this investor is talking about, you got to be in front of customer we're looking for. The first thing when I came home, what I did was I just Googled RFP software. As a consumer, what would I do? No company was there. That tells me, I'm not in front of my customer. It could be for developing an app, you got to be an app store. Or if you are an events-based company, you got to be in the. So it is true. Again, like I said, it may not be the same for everybody. Being on Google is not the answer for everything, but it is for us. From there on, even till date, our biggest pipeline source is Google. That's when we started investing in that. That is one surprising thing. It was a very simple statement to say, but
huge impact.
Yeah, it is a huge impact. It was a surprise to see how much it is. So that is one. And the second one, I would say, and there are a few questions, I'll answer that in a minute. The second one is, again, they're also says naive. So in 2017, maybe when we hit $1 million of revenue, people said, well, people who got you to this may not be able to get from this to this. I was naive and said, oh, no, why? They all are human beings and everybody should be a dad. I think I was wrong. I tried to, defy that statement, but I miserably failed. It's a learning, but at the same time, people have done that. If you look at people who have done the evolution of this company, these are people who embraced change. These are people who embraced, new ideas, not get offended by new thoughts, new changes. But people who drag you down are whom you thought people are, on for a long run, because there's nothing wrong. They are not bad intent, but they could not comprehend the change. They were wearing multiple hats. The moment, especially when the company grows, you got to be making specialists, not generalists, right? You got to make special. The moment you feel like you want them to focus on something specialized, they feel threatened. Oh, I'm being reduced my scope. That becomes a challenge. They will try to do all sort of politics, and that drags you down. So that's another interesting learning for me. Is what got you here, be it people, process, technology, may not get you from, it's our different stages of company. That's another thing I've learned.
Great.
So there are questions I'll read myself. What was the differentiator with the bigger companies in your field? To be honest, there was no real big 800-pound gorilla sitting in our space. There is no big company. It has wide space. It's also because of, now it's a different story. I feel like the problem that we solved was not owned by one particular team. RFPs tend to be distributed with many different teams. There is no one single owner. Now we are educating the market. Hey, is it a sales enablement, or sometimes it's a sales? So we are giving that education to the market. So there is no big player. Like I said, every big player that you can imagine in this ecosystem of sales technology are using our product. We are the leader. We are this big company in the space. How did you come up with name and the logo? It is a 3-minute conversation, to be honest. And I was in India, the logo that you see behind, I was having this designer and said, I'll tell you an interesting story on this logo. If you noticed, I don't know how many of you noticed that. I was talking to a designer and said, at that time, it's all in 2015, it was this trend of the first letter becoming trend. Now it has changed, but that's when I said, okay, we have to do RFPIO. It was a funny name, to be honest, because we didn't want to spend a lot of energy and time on explaining what we do. RFPIO clearly explains. People who spend their time on RFPs, they know what does that mean, RFP, input and output. We look for a domain name. It was there. We just booked it. That's another 5-minute conversation at Starbucks in Bethany. That's what we did. Logos in another interesting story. Again, I went to India and I asked my designer guy, I said, hey, we need to design a logo that starts with an R. He came up with this. We did not had a bunch of tries and we decided on this one. So it was this, but I don't know how many of you noticed this arrow points to Northwest. We are a Northwest company. So it's it aligned in that angle. So if somebody said, hey, was it intentional? And no, it was after a few years, they said, you realize this arrow is pointing towards Northwest. You guys are a Northwest company. So yeah. Although I don't live in Northwest anymore. I'm in Central Texas. So share your email. Love to meet you. Talk soon. Yeah, my email is Ganesh@RFPIO. The easiest way is to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. We can connect. What is your favorite part about running a business, and what is your least favorite part about running a business? So my favorite part, I would say, is feeling something impactful. Like I said, we are 450 employees. That means we are somehow or the other way, we are touching 450 families. That makes me super exciting. That makes me super happy. So I think we are just scratching the surface. It could be a huge opportunity. So that's something I'm very excited about. The second least favorite part about running business. Philosophically speaking, as a CEO, this is true. Again, this is a confession meeting, so I have to confess. Who are starting the company, and even very successful entrepreneurs can acknowledge this. 80% of your days, my day, I think, is filled with negative news. It's not positive. What you see on public social media, all those things are just noise that I make all those things, but 80% of my time is filled with negative news. I don't like that aspect. But that leaves me 20%. That 20% of positive news is overwhelmingly positive. I don't care about the 80% of the negative stuff that happens around me. That 20% is what keeps me running. And I'm really happy about that. And I don't care about the 80%, but that's what I signed up for, right? I got to be dealing with. And yes, there is CEOs. Yes, I have co-founders, but CEO job is truly the loneliest job going through this 6-year journey is truly the loneliest job, which I don't really. And now I have advisors. Now I have coaches who can help us. But early stage, and especially when we are kind of scale, not early stage where your co-founders all sitting next to you and we can discuss everything. But as you scale fundraising, it truly becomes lonely. But yeah, other than that, it's yeah, these are things. And they Amrit asked, did you have any trouble in hiring top quality software and other talent? The answer is yes and no. The S is it went to any company saying, oh, we had easy hire, they're lying. No, talent hiring is not easy. But I think we've been fortunate enough to set up, when it comes to software engineering. I was lucky enough to come from India, and the hometown South. I did not set up the office in one of those metro cities. So we set up the office in Coimbatore, which is a suburb. not a metro city like Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai. The benefit I had is Coimbatore is one of the few cities in India which has many reputed universities and colleges, but it lacked technology companies in that city itself. So I was, I was one of those, person who didn't have any opportunity in Coimbatore. So I pursued my job, I went to Chennai. I worked there for 3 years, and I wanted to come back, and I had only one option, the company that I worked for. So I still remember, I prepared myself more than the board exams that I've done. I prepared to get that one damn job so that I can go back to my hometown. I can spend time with my family. I can literally spend time with my girlfriend, then my wife now, so that I want to go back. That was my own. So we found, again, now it's a little bit of change. Earlier in the stage, we found a lot more people want to come back to their native place. And there are less product companies. There are a couple of good big size services companies, but there are not a lot of product companies. So we presented ourselves as the product company, cool company, solving the world's problem. And people bought into that. People stood by that idea. So that's how we attracted talent. We still attract talent, but again, it's not as easy it is now. So it's a much bigger problem all of us are facing.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic, Ganesh. Thank you so much for sharing all of that history and the bumps along the way and your vision for how to keep, a 450 employee company operating as if you were still, the 170 or the smaller team you started with. Incredible story. I know that there's so much down the road for you as well. We really look forward to having an update at some point. We don't want to over tap our access to you, but yeah, do keep us informed. And everyone, we're happy to follow up with any questions that we missed. Go ahead and let Carrie know, and we can funnel them to Ganesh as well. But otherwise, I know you have a hard stop at the bottom of the hour, so we'll have to let you go. Carrie, any final housekeeping, or Ganesh, did you want to have some closing thoughts?
Yeah, sure. And again, thanks for inviting me. So I know I've spoken for almost an hour. So yeah, another thing is, a lot of times you will get all this free advice. Entrepreneurs will come and speak. Great, but if you take one point out of this whole meeting, that is, I will call it as a win. 1 point, one nugget, anything that you feel like, it was valuable, that's all I can ask for. So if I've not made that an impact, that I failed miserably. So, any feedback you want to pass on, please pass it on to Carrie. I will definitely, take that into consideration. I will correct it myself. I just want to be raw. I did not prepare anything. These are all something came out of my mind, especially when Brigida was asking. So hopefully that helped you. So thanks for inviting me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Ganesh.
Thanks so much, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thanks, Carrie. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.